This is Michael Condon representing the TooMedToo's Star Wars Network. We've got your fix. And this is episode number 55 of the Bacta tank. We're having a couple difficulties right now with some of the equipment. So one of my fans is starting to go. So every once in a while it gets a little bit loud, or I just hit it to make it stop. So, either way, the show must go on. And, just a little pounding never hurt anybody, I guess. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. But today we have with us David from Inside the Force. David, how are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on here. Good to see you again.
It's actually, it's kind of funny and embarrassing. You're the second person in a row who I'm going to start off saying, I used to listen to your podcast every week. But then with the disclaimer that, me and Rural Farm Boy used to be up there posting every day. We'd post, 15, 20 a day, what we listened to. But once COVID hit, I pretty much stopped listening to podcasts because I was no longer working. So that's where I would listen all the time or traveling. And I was always home. And I was doing a lot more YouTube. So I have Patreon, like I said this last week, I have Patreons that I belong to that I haven't touched them in 6 or 8 months. I still support them. I haven't listened to anything. So some of them were on episode 3 or 4 and they're on episode 40 now. And I haven't touched them in a while. So
that's right. I think the pandemic, kind of changed a lot of stuff for a lot of people. So even our show changed a little bit when that all happened. So understandable. And it's funny because I that was the last episode or maybe the one before that. You made that comment. That's funny because I do remember that comment.
Yeah, well, you guys were one of the people that I always I always listen to.
That's great.
So, but anyways, so tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Well, Inside the Force. We started that thing surprisingly. This coming week will be our 8-year anniversary. We started back in 2013, right after we heard that Disney was buying Lucasfilm, and we were going to get a bunch more Star Wars stuff. So I was doing a podcast before that, kind of a filmmakers podcast when we were doing a bunch of filmmaking, and we would talk Star Wars on there. But I wanted to really dedicate, a show to just Star Wars. So Casey, who is my nephew through marriage, my wife's nephew, I knew he was next to me. He was the biggest Star Wars fan I knew personally. So, we did it together, and we were just a podcast for up until last year, I would say. And then we started videoing our podcast, and then popping it up on YouTube. Wouldn't do a live thing. We haven't done live yet, but like you said, because of the pandemic, we started thinking of other ways we can get creative, and so we started additional mini shows that we do on the YouTube channel now. So if everybody goes there and sees that, you'll see different playlists on there. One is called Council Sessions, where we have one-on-one discussions with 2 people on there debating a topic, which I need to get you on there on my show. We'll do something like that. And then we do one called Beyond the Saga, where we talk about all the books and the comics that are out there. And then one's called Masters of the Order, which I just started, where I'm interviewing people directly tied to a project. So we had Mark Thompson on there. That was my first guest a couple weeks ago. And next week we got an interview with Claudia Gray coming out, author. And then I got a couple more lined up for April. And so, it's, just because of this format now, we were doing everything in person. Because of this format, it makes it a lot easier to do a lot more content, I feel like. So that's what we're trying to do. Lots of Star Wars discussions. That's really our thing.
Yeah. When COVID hit, I had COVID and I was out of work. I was out of work for about 8 months. But that's all I did was just put out content and videos and, 2 or 3 of them a week and talking about them. And, then I finally returned back to work, and it's like, hey, I'm also streaming on another platform. this is the wrong link down here. But I'm streaming on another platform, and that's actually like I'm a contracted streamer with them. It's called Live It, and I can do whatever I want to. I just can't. There's other stream things I can't go to and do. But that's taken up a lot of my time. That's actually become like a second job because YouTube's fun and getting to know people and interview and talk with people, but that's literally become a second full-time job. And
right.
I'm going on vacation and it's paying for my vacation, so
nice.
it's got to be something good. But it ended up taking up a lot of my time, and I still try and get in this one because it's the flagship. And I would go and talk about books and everything and do deep dives and actually go through the visual dictionaries page by page and talk about it and everything. And that's a big endeavor because you think like, oh yeah, like that's 30 episodes, an hour, 2 hours each one. That fills true. That was a month or two of content a couple times a week that I can't do it now. But yeah, you interviewed Mark Thompson.
Yes.
So how was that?
Yeah, huge fan of his. I'm not I cannot read a novel, man. I can't. Obviously, I could read, but it would take me a year to get through one novel. So when these new canon novels started coming out, I told myself, well, I've heard about audiobooks. I might give one a shot. And my commute to work is about 25 minutes each way. So I started, when A New Dawn came out, that first canon novel, it's like, oh, I'll buy it, free trial, audible.com. Got on there, started listening, and I was floored. Mark Thompson voiced it, and I was floored because I felt like it was a full cast, not realizing that it was one person doing every voice. And, the music that they put in there and the sound effects. I mean, it's like watching a Star Wars movie with your eyes closed. So I was hooked, man. And I went through book after book after book. I've done them all. I'm in the, because of the pandemic, though, I'm really behind because I'm not driving to work. Everything I've been working from home. So I'm behind, but I got through a lot of books over the last few years. And just talking to him, he's a very down to earth kind of guy. He's really nice and very humble and just loves Star Wars, loves doing his voice acting. And it's a really cool conversation, and the thing I want to ask them as I go through that series is some little behind the scenes things that maybe some of us fans may not know, that goes through that. And one thing in that interview, he talked about how you might think that it might take a month or so to produce these audiobooks. He usually gets through them in 3 or 4 days. And there's he mentioned January Lavoie, who's another voice for some of these books. He talks about her sometimes going through them one day because she's that good. So he said he's hard on himself a little bit, so he wants to redo a bunch of stuff. But no, it's great. He's fantastic. It was a really fun discussion.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I read with my ears, and like it's funny because it's like pre-pandemic. I'd get up. So I'm in New York City. I'd get up at 3 a.m. If I had gone to sleep. I'm a night owl anyway, so especially now that I'm doing the Live It thing. Like little idiosyncrasies with it. Sometimes I'm up until 5 or 6 in the morning, sleep for an hour or two, go to work, and then come home and I sleep for 3 or 4 hours, then get up and do it all over again. But yeah, so like pre-COVID, I would get up at 3 in the morning because that's when the book would drop, somewhere right around there. Yeah, right. And I'd listen to it for an hour or two, and then I'd go to bed, and then I'd get up an hour or two later, and I'd finish the book in the first day. Didn't matter what I was doing. I wouldn't be watching TV. I put down my podcast playlist, which I need to get back going on. But and then over the next week or so, I'd probably listen to it here and there, for a second time. But yeah, now it's weird because I was always in the mindset, like, how do these people not do this all the time? And how are, like podcasters, and how are they not doing this, not doing that? And now it's like, I was one of the biggest proponent and always posting 10, 15, 20 podcasts a day, listen on double speed, an 8-hour shift at work, an hour-long podcast, you can fit in 12 hour-long. I mean, I know the math doesn't work out there, but sometimes you got to stop it for a second or two. You can do 12 right there and then walk the dog, getting ready and everything. Yeah. So, like, how are these people not listening? And now it's just like, wow, I've turned into one of those people now. And after talking with Mike last week and I'm talking with you this week, it's like, it's kind of like I feel bad. Like, hey, I used to love listening to you guys, and I just need to figure out a way to start doing that again.
Yeah, same here. And I would. That's what I was doing. I would either be on a book or be in podcasts, listen to podcasts on my drive, because it is hard when you get home and I've got a family that I'm with 2 kids and. But I like you, because I'm a night owl, I'm able to get some of this stuff done when they go to bed, and I'm up for 3 or 4 more hours. So it works out. But I'm curious, do you ever listen like double speed at all, or do you always listen normal speed? Because I've tried the double speed and I can't really get through that.
Everything's double speed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I know. Steele Saunders. I talk to Steele every now and then. We've had the conversation. He is not a big fan of me listening to double speed, because him being the comedian feels that it's the cadence, and when you say something and the the joke that you don't catch the timing of it or things like that. But it took me a while. I went from 1 to like 1.25 to 1.5 to 1.7 to 2. One of the apps I had, you can go up to like 3 or 4, and that's just insane. Like that I can't do. But what actually took me a while was listening to the people over in the UK and Australia. That took a while to get used to. But now, if I listen to someone at normal speed, I mean, it's been a while since I've listened, but if I would listen to somebody at normal speed, I'm so used to hearing them talk fast. So if I talk to them in person, they sound really funny. Or if I listen to their podcast at normal speed, they sound like they're really drunk. And it's just talking normal. So here's Rural Farm Boy.
That's good.
Michael learned me how to. Yeah, I taught Rural Farm Boy some of the secrets so he could up his podcasting.
Oh yeah.
And then
nice.
I'm actually do turn this into a podcast, but I'm about 30 episodes behind. So I'm about 6 months behind doing that. Just trying to find the time to do it. But someday it will get done. We'll get it in the archives and doing that. Right. But all right, so I'm checking out some of the stuff you have behind you right now. So once this does get put into a podcast, I'm either going to cut this out or it's going to be really boring for you. But so tell me a little bit about what you have behind you.
So my biggest thing is my Star Wars Stormtrooper, obviously, right? So back in 2005, when Episode 3 was coming out, most of us thought this was the last Star Wars movie we were ever going to get, right? So a bunch of buddies of mine said, let's make a Star Wars fan film. If you remember, do you remember Troops, the original like big Star Wars fan film? Did you ever see that? You ever heard of that?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I ever saw it though.
Yeah. So it's about these like stormtroopers, the stormtroopers that were on Tatooine, and they were, it's like cops but troops, and they were attending a call from the Lars homestead because Owen and Beru called and said, "Hey, Luke's missing. Can you go?" So there's this banter, this comedic exchange between. It was hilariously funny. Well done. This was back in the mid '90s when this thing was done. So, we kind of got this idea in 2005. Let's do a Star Wars fan film. What's something we can parody? And we decided to do Pulp Fiction, the Ezekiel scene, where Sam Jackson is, yelling at Brett, about the burger and what's my name, what's his name, and stuff like that. So we bought 2 at the time. It was pretty expensive. We bought 2 Stormtrooper outfits. I bought this one, and my buddy of mine bought the other one. So we bought the 2, and we did this short film called The Unknown Discovery, and it was these 2 troopers, busting in on this apartment where we basically reshot the Pulp Fiction scene. and we packaged. So this was like 3 weeks before Star Wars Celebration 3, if you can imagine, the third celebration that they ever did, and they were doing it up in Indianapolis. I'm in Kentucky, which is about 2 hours away from here. So we created 300 DVDs of this short film. I was like, let's take it up there and just hand it out. And I'd never been to a celebration before. So I get up there and we walk in, 300 DVDs. We had the whole artwork surrounding it, the packaging and all that stuff. So it looked pretty legit. We started just handing these things out in the middle of the hallway, and literally within 2 minutes they were gone. And so it was pretty successful. Our site crashed and all this stuff. But anyway, that's a buddy of mine eventually bought me a mannequin for my birthday, and I eventually was able to put it because it was just kind of stuck on my shelf somewhere. So that's the story behind that thing. I've had that thing for 15, 16 years now. But I've only had the mannequin for like 3 or 4 years, or 4 or 5 years. So that's my prized possession. And then what's funny is a lot of this other stuff, like these pop figures, and I work in the production business, local commercials, documentaries, and stuff like that. And a lot of clients that I have an office at my building, and I have Star Wars stuff in there also, so they know I'm a big Star Wars fan. So most of this stuff, my clients just happen to buy and send it to me, which is hilarious. They'll send me like a little pop figure or something, or a little action figure, little trinkets of stuff here and there that's all over these shelves. So of course I buy the books just to make it fill my room up a little bit, even though like we said before, I never read any of these books. But I love Star Wars, so I'll support it. And so a lot of it's pop figures, Lego, little pieces of Lego. I don't know if you can see that's the edge of the Millennium Falcon Lego set right there. I got the lightsaber, and then I've got the one I built for. Let me grab it real quick. It's right here. This one that I built at Galaxy's Edge. Right.
All right.
So this sits over here on this side, but my daughter helped me actually build that one. So it's one of my, and we got she put the green crystal in there, but I ended up buying a yellow one. So
yeah, I don't know if you see the screen or not. I just made the screen big, or your screen big, so we could
see this stuff.
Yeah, I can see a couple of the looks like Stormtrooper Funko Pops over there, and then you got a Yoda one.
That's Grogu right there, little Grogu.
Okay, yeah, I'll go over here back this way, and I'll show you. I have everything's a mess.
Yeah,
right now,
all the pops. Yeah,
all the mess. And then underneath my desk is a bunch more, and then behind my green screen, I have cases or boxes from the floor to the ceiling. Still like in the cases that they came from, like the boxes.
Yeah.
That I just don't have anywhere to put the stuff, and I'm trying to downsize and get rid of some of the stuff, but it's just like, yeah, it's gonna happen. So it just keeps accumulating, and New York City apartment, it's kind of hard. Luckily, like I said with that the other app the app I'm on, it's basically it's another full-time job. I'm doing well enough that I convinced my girlfriend that our spare bedroom, I turned that into my office. But she's still hesitant on letting me decorate it. But once that happens, I had this idea today, and this is just kind of crazy. So over to the side of me is where our TV is, sitting on top of an old chest or dresser that I refinished. I'm thinking about, she just got into plants, so I'm thinking about telling her she should use that for plants. And think of whatever, and then I can move the TV right in front of me right here, and it'll be perfect. And then because she has the plants over there, then I can start decorating what like putting up shelves and things. So, just these little ideas. But yeah, like as I know you said you watched a couple episodes of this. This isn't an interview because I talk way too much. It's just a couple of guys just talking. Yeah. Star Wars.
That's totally the feel. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I've centered, I centered when I set this up because of the pandemic, I'm trying to block the doorway, right, the closet. But that's there's stacks of boxed pop figures and Black Series stuff in there. That's where I keep my obsessions, So that no one ever sees that closet, but that's where that stuff is.
Yeah, well, it started in the bedroom. I have just a regular bookcase that you get from wherever that had my books in it, but it started to bend. The shelves were bending, so I had to get like a real expensive heavy duty that can hold like 100 pounds per shelf or whatever bookcase.
Yeah.
So then I took all my other so the crappy bookcase kind of is filled with now pops, but they're 4 or 5 deep, so you're missing all of them. And so it's just but hey, it's my I don't collect Funko Pops. I just acquire Star Wars memorabilia. I think I have about 180 of them, 190, but it's not a collection.
Yeah,
it's not a collection. It's just memorabilia.
Yes,
Star Wars. Because I only have about 3 Funko Pops that aren't Star Wars, so that's how I kind of justify it. But yeah, I just found the Unknown Discovery Star Wars fan film on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on.
I'll be watching that.
We've
after
been
this.
we actually made a prequel a couple of years later because that one did so well with the community, and we called it The Rise of the Troopers. So it's the prequel of them seeing them grow up. So we made fun of that. And then we talked about doing a third one, but that was years ago, and too much time has gone by now, so we kind of got away from it. But yeah, that was our little contribution to the Star Wars fan film era back then.
That's good. So now the Stormtrooper, was that movie Stormtrooper? Yep. Was that used in a movie, or was that something like from 501st?
No, yeah, it's one of those ones that you have to. It's weird because back then it was one of those ones you buy the armor and you basically have to assemble it yourself. You have to do some molding and add the screws and build. The helmet had to be built, but they sent you all the parts and you basically had to kind of craft it and do it yourself. So it took a few weeks to put it together and get it to, and still it's not perfect. Like I can never put it on because it falls apart a lot. Like most of it's like duct taped together in the back. You can't really see it, but they're not like how they are now where they come with buttons, like snaps and stuff where you can snap things on. But I don't think it would be able to qualify for a 501st because I think you have to like make your own costume to do that.
And they're down to the measurements, and somebody like me who's fat, I couldn't be it because it wouldn't fit right, and just all. I mean, I guess there's ways around it, but yeah, they're very strict on. Royal Farm Boy used to be in the 501st, so he'd probably know a little bit more about that. But he was asking if you have a TK or TK armor.
A TK armor. I mean, besides that one, no.
Okay, and that's
no. And then so the names of the guys that when you watch that film is TK221, which is this one, and then TK212 is the other guy.
Okay.
In the bits. So now I'm very interested in. I just haven't really dived into. I'm very interested in the 501st. I'd love to be able to be a part of that because I love the charity work that they do and all that. And there's a couple in Kentucky, but I just haven't had the time to figure out what kind of costume I would do or how I would get into all that. I think because you can do a Jedi. Couldn't you do a Jedi and get in?
You can do pretty much anything. There's some that they have already done with, I don't like Sale Paralis from Rogue Rebels. He's not in the 501st, but he deals a lot with the 501st. I believe he's not 501st because he does like Caleb Doom. Like that and I don't know if at the time when he started doing it, if they I think that's who he does. I don't know. It's a Jedi's Rebel Legion. Okay, so they have like little different factions.
Oh,
so,
yeah, that's right.
So
that's
yeah,
right.
the 501st are like the stormtroopers, but they have like the mercs, which are the Mandalorians.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
it's but I think it's all pretty much. I mean, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's all 501st with a little bit of like little branches off. Is how it kind of works out. But yeah, they're very strict. But but that's also with the Mandalorian, they called them up and said, "Hey, we need some stormtroopers, and we don't have it." So however many it was, got to go and actually be in it because they needed actual armor or people in them.
With the actual movie quality armor.
Yeah. So that's kind of it's a catch-22. It costs a lot of money to get it and do it, but you get these little perks like, hey, I mean, it's not a little perk, but you end up in the show, and you get trips to you get into Disney or get to go out on these events or these things.
Yes.
Maybe not, they might not be free, but still being able to go and participate in something like that is amazing.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then all right. Are you all caught up with the audiobooks with the High Republic?
I'm not. I'm actually in the middle of Light of the Jedi right now. So that's where I've been trying to get into it, but because I'm not driving, I'm not really now that the weather's getting better and I'm going to have to start going in the yard and doing some yard work. That's where I listen to my stuff too. So I'll be able to catch up pretty fast once the weather gets better, but no, I haven't fully engrossed into the High Republic, but I want to. Yeah, are you into it? You got it?
Yeah, I've listened to them. They're good. It's like it's I don't know. Quinlan Voss. I'm sorry, not Caleb Doom. Quinlan Voss.
Oh, Quinlan Voss
is who Sal Perales does. His whole family does cosplay for that. But yeah, it's just
that's great. Quinlan Voss, nice.
Not to go off on a tangent there, but yeah, the first book was really good, but it's one of those things where it's just so much information and so many new characters.
Yeah,
and it's not like a regular novel where they're introducing a couple people and you have to follow them. It's here's 20 people and here's what's going on, and there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But then, the next one, which was a YR, a young reader's book. It was that one I enjoyed more, like story-wise. But that's the thing. It's not the hard-hitting canon that you're going to get. And it's like that first book though. It's story building, so you have to expect that it's not going to be. I'm not trying to say that it wasn't good. But it's just there's just so much to absorb. Kind of like when Alphabet Squadron came out, they're introducing so many new characters that you need to listen to it or read it, whatever you're doing, a few times, or have a sheet of paper with all the characters so it's easier to remember, because it's like I said, it's not a normal novel where it's like 3 or 4 people or 5 or 6. It's here's 25 new characters that you have to remember, and it's a lot more difficult that way. But like Alphabet Squadron, I enjoyed it much more the second time I read it. I have to go back with Aftermath. Aftermath was okay, but being all new things, I haven't gone back for a reread on that, which should probably happen someday. But it's just once again I can't even fit my podcast in. It's hard to fit rereads in. When it's a struggle sometimes for the new books that are coming out.
Yeah, I feel you, because I think I'm glad you brought up Aftermath, because I think with the Aftermath series, I was so compelled and drawn in with the story of that whole year, between Return of the Jedi and the Battle of Jakku, that it was easier for me to follow those characters and get into that. I found that a little difficult for me with Alphabet Squadron, like with it being so just every new character almost. I mean, you had Hera pop up here and there, but I struggled through the first book. I got better at the end, and I'm still halfway through the second book. And actually, I was in the middle of that one before I dropped it and went to High Republic. So I do want to go back because Victory's Price just came out, I think, the third book.
Yeah, it came out maybe about a month ago. Maybe,
yeah, I think early this month, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I've started it. I'm only an hour into it or something like that. Not that, once again, not that I don't enjoy it or don't like it, but the High Republic books come out and it's like, okay, I'm going to listen to try and get this done.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the hierarchy. Before it used to just be unlimited power.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter. I'm going to get it finished in a day or two, no matter what it is. Now it's like, okay, but I'm going on vacation next month. I'm going to be at the beach, so I'll have my phone streaming this. I'll have my phone streaming in this hand, talking to people, so I can still get my streaming done, and I'll have my other device in this one, listening to the book, hopefully. So we'll try and get some things done.
So you said, have you listened to the Claudia Gray High Republic book?
Yeah.
You did? Okay. So how's that? Because I haven't gotten to that one yet. Because Claudia Gray, I love Claudia Gray's books. They're probably one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Master and Apprentice is one of my favorites.
I really liked it. I actually don't tell anybody, but I started listening to that a second time. I stopped listening to Alphabet Squadron, the third book for Alphabet Squadron, and started listening to that book for a second time, just because it was so good.
Yes, it's so good.
It's just, and then that's the other thing too. Like, if someone asks me, what do you recommend for a Star Wars book? It's like, that's almost an impossible question to answer just off that, because it's like, if I don't know you personally or have an idea what you're into, it's really hard to do. Like, do you want more of lore? Do you if you're into, like, in real life, if you're into like politics, then you're gonna want to probably go with like Bloodlines.
Yep.
If you're into more of like the mysticism of the Jedi, or light and dark, or Dark Disciple is an amazing one to do, because you're kind of getting something like that, and there's just so many things in between. I have the Audible where I get two books a month for whatever it is, like $20.
Yeah.
So like I've actually been I'm going through now. I've gone all through the real books. And I'm doing a lot of the kids' books that are like 3 hours long. So I probably wouldn't buy the book.
Yeah.
But since I got 7 credits just sitting there, it might as well be like, okay. Might as well pop that one in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And do that. But yeah, it's just so great. And I don't know, Disney Plus is amazing.
Yes.
So all right, now you mentioned that you were married, or your wife, I believe you said.
I am married. Yep.
Is your significant other into Star Wars?
She has grown into it because of me, of course. She wasn't really she liked movies, but she was more of a dramatic, rom-com type watcher. But she's definitely gone to the Star Wars movies with me. Now, what works is that she's big into Disney, right? So, and I am too, and we take the family to Disney, and she actually she's become a Disney planner now. So she's actually booking vacations for a part-time gig. Okay. So she's, because of Disney, because Star Wars is part of that now, it's hand in hand. And, she's definitely not, she won't sit down and read a book about it, but she'll definitely watch. She loves The Mandalorian. We watch The Mandalorian together. Watches the movies whenever we're watching, when they would come out. So she's definitely going to be invested in the Disney Plus shows for sure. I think she's a big fan of Ahsoka. So I think that series comes out, it's going to be really fun to watch with her. And then of course she's not so much on the animated side. She's a live action person, so she won't sit down and watch Clone Wars with me or anything like that. But I have my 11-year-old daughter that actually does that with me. So she's big in the Clone Wars. Can't wait for the Bad Batch to come out. Loves Rebels. She's a big fan of Sabine and Ahsoka are her favorites. So so I would say it's a Disney house, but I'm the Star Wars. I'm the Star Wars of them all.
Yeah, I've been with my girlfriend we've lived together for going on 9 years now. And she watched Star Wars growing up with her dad and her brother, but was never really her thing. But she knows it because it was always on all the time.
Nice.
And over the summer, quarantine time, I got to watch a Star Wars movie for whatever it was, a bet or as a reward for. I don't remember what it was. And so I picked Solo, and because I was like, okay, that's going to be a good movie, and it's kind of by itself. I don't have to explain anything. And then for my birthday was in February. She's like, okay, fine, I'll watch the Star Wars movie with you. So in 9 years, I got Solo, and then she's like, all right. So I just started off with episode 1 because I was like, okay, that's going to get most of the things done or out of the way, and then she started asking questions. So before I was like, I'm not answering your questions, so I put on 2. And we started watching 2, and we finished 2, and then she had questions, and we started 3. And that we got a couple minutes into 3, and she's like, okay, we'll finish watching it later. That was in February. So she told me the other day, I was like, hey, she's like, for your next birthday, maybe we'll watch it. And I was like, all right, it might take us another 10 years, but we'll finally get through them. It's just, it's just not her thing. She's not into superhero movies either or anything.
Yeah, she, my wife's not either, but it's funny. I took her to, she finally caved, and because me and there's like 5 or 6 buddies of mine that we go to the opening shows of all the Marvel movies that come out, opening screens. And, but she had heard she's a teacher, and all of her school was talking about when Infinity War was coming out. So she was like, you know what? I'll go with you to Infinity War. I was like, okay, let's go. So she had never seen a Marvel movie prior to that. So obviously I'm sure she was probably really confused, but she really enjoyed that story and that, what happened in that movie. And of course we went back and watched Endgame. She went back. I think Captain Marvel came out, and then Endgame. And then I think those are the ones we saw, but she really loved WandaVision. Have you seen WandaVision?
Yeah. Well, she was the one, like we started, we started watching WandaVision, but like the way it was, like I was trying to get her to watch it. And she wouldn't watch it. And then one of her friends told her how good it was. So she's like, okay, let's watch it. But that happens with everything. I think Game of Thrones, this is a whole other story, but Game of Thrones was on season 6 or almost at the final season. By the time I was allowed to start watching it, because we're going to watch it together. We're going to watch it together. 6 years later, we have to binge watch it. But yeah, it was, The Mandalorian, I had already, the first season was over, and I think the second season might have been over, and we finally convinced her to start watching it. And it was just like, oh, okay, all right, whatever. And then by like the second or third episode, she was like, oh, like making noises about whatever's happening and Baby Yoda and just whatever. And then that was just kind of like, okay, well, we'll watch it later. And then, it just never picked it back up. So, slowly we're getting some things in there. But it's like I tried to get her to go I say last year, but the last celebration was my first celebration. And the one in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then Anaheim, I was tickets, let's go. She's like, no, you go have fun. I was like, okay, but I'm going to California. I'm going to be gone for, she's like, well, it's 5 days, right? And I was like, yeah. So I'm probably gone for about 10 days or 2 weeks. She's like, wait, what? And I'm like, well, yeah, because I got to go to Disney. I got to go to Disney. I got to go to Disney a day or two before, and then probably a day or two after. So that's a week. I'm going to be over there. So I'm like, have friends I got to visit or try and figure it out. But I invited her to come, and she said no. She doesn't want to hang out with my nerd friends. And I was like, I think she would love it if she was actually there and got to go with it.
I think my wife would too. Actually, it's a fantastic experience. I've talked about it on our show every time it comes up. Like I've been to every celebration since that first one I went to, Celebration 3. and it's a new experience every time. It's such a great few days. You can never surround yourself with that many Star Wars fans anywhere else. It's phenomenal. It's so much fun.
Oh, it's amazing just walking the floor and meeting people, and 95% of the people are so down to earth, and, people that you're like, oh my God, that's, this podcaster, YouTube person that, has millions of subscribers, and they're just nerds like the rest of us having fun. Right. They just, they got lucky with the algorithm or whatever it happens to be. And it's just amazing how that happens. Yeah, I was with about my house that I was in. We had about 20 people, and they were all that's how many it fit. It slept. And the people that were above us were podcasters that we kind of knew. So we were right around the block from. We went to the Cubs game. We were right around the block from there.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
There was a bunch of other people that were staying by us, and we just ended up being like the party house. Yeah. And it was just amazing. It's like, I can't get over like what an experience it is.
Right. Yeah. So that was your one and only time you've gone, right?
So far. I mean, I'll be there next year.
Yeah. No, it's always good to hear about that, because I've been to so many that it's like it's hard to describe even now, but it's good to hear from someone that's only done it once or done it the first time just recently, because it has grown, obviously, right? I mean, Chicago was massive, whereas I remember going to Celebration, I think it was like 5 in the first time it was in Orlando. And, Orlando's a big convention center, but, it wasn't as big as it is now, right? It's, it was easier to like get in line. And even though, and at the time they were doing premieres of like the new season of Clone Wars and, lines for go in and to hear an interview with like James Earl Taylor or somebody like that, from the Clone Wars. And you could get in line maybe an hour or two before and get in. Could never do that now. Now they got the virtual queues, and sometimes you don't even get in anything, which is a little frustrating. But there's you have to get in line for 3 or 4 hours now to get into the panel that you want to get into. So it's amazing how much it's grown. One quick story I'll tell you about Celebration that I think you'd like. So like I usually go in groups of like 5 or 6 people. The year that I was in Orlando, after it was the Last Jedi, or the one before Last Jedi, so it was 2017. And there's a dealership here in town that I'm really close with, the guy that runs it. And I called him up and said, "Hey, I need to rent a van, like maybe like a transit van, with some more seats, because I don't want to just go down in like a minivan, so let me see if I can get a transit and give me a deal." He's like, "Yeah, I can see if I can hook you up." So he calls you back and said, "Yeah, I got something for you. Come pick it up, the day before you leave." I said, "Okay." So I get there, and he said, "Okay, I got this transit for you." And it was this jet black tinted window Ford Transit. And it ended up being the owner of the dealership. And he uses it for his vacation. He's like, "Yeah," he said he's not using it, so you can use it if you want. Get in the back. The thing's got leather seats. There's a 55-inch TV that's in the back. Full surround sound. I mean, it was so incredible. So what we did was, from where I'm at, it takes about 12 hours to get there if you just didn't stop. 12, 13 hours to get to Orlando. So we left at 6 at night, right after work. We all piled in the car, threw in the Blu-rays. We started watching episode 1, and we just do all the movies. So the time it took there, we got there at 7 a.m. on that Friday morning, when they were doing the 40th anniversary panel. That was that morning. So we went all night, drove all night, traded shifts. But just to give people an idea how much time it took for us to get there from Kentucky to Orlando, it took episodes 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, and half of episode 4, and we were there. So it was like the best time to get there, and that was just the drive. And then of course we had the greatest time that weekend. So it's just unbelievable. And as I'm sure you have now, you just have these memories that'll last forever, man. It's awesome.
Well, I was kind of bummed when they did the lottery because you hear all these stories about people sleeping out overnight and this and that, and the great friends that you make, and people that are like lifelong Star Wars friends just because it was somebody next to you or whatever, in line. But it's like then you hear that people like, yep, the lottery is way better because you don't have to sleep on concrete and you can do this and you can do that. So
yeah,
like I was lucky enough, I got into every main stage panel.
See, I didn't. Chicago. I didn't get into episode 9, and I think there was another one I didn't get into. I got into the Mandalorian one. We got into the Mandalorian, and we got into Clone Wars when they were bringing that back. So there was a couple of them I didn't make. So,
well, yeah, good. I was, when I was younger, I was a gamer, like with Xbox and everything. And then I went into the one panel, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to start gaming again because this game looks amazing. Then it was like, okay, well, I'm going to buy a gaming laptop for that because then it kind of, kills two birds with one stone. And my dog knocked my computer off the table and destroyed it, so I needed to get a new one anyway. So it's like, all right, let's go for it. But yeah, like that Fallen Order was just like I was like awestruck. I was just like dumbfounded. I was like, oh my god, this looks amazing.
Yes, I'm with you. Yeah, I was in there for that one. I could not wait because I'm not a, I played Battlefront. And like you, I got the first Xbox when it came out. A big Halo player with a bunch of buddies, and I'm not a big online multiplayer because I'm just not that good. I just can't get really good at online multiplayer. I don't know why. I just always do bad at it. And so I like the campaign type games and the story driven games like Halo, even the Halo campaign and Assassin's Creed and Gears of War. And then of course, Jedi Fallen Order was exactly the game I wanted, man. I cannot wait till they make more of those. Cannot wait.
Well, they're talking about a lot of games on the horizon. So
yeah, Lucasfilm Games. Yep.
I'm down for all of them.
Yeah, the open world one, that's what I'm most interested in because that's what they're talking about. And I've never really done a big open world. Like I guess is World of Warcraft, I guess is kind of open world like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never played it. So
but I haven't played it either, but yeah, I believe it is.
But something massive like that where you just don't really stop playing it. You just go and explore and do all kinds of stuff. I think Red Dead Redemption I've heard is similar to that.
Yeah, I mean it's still it's open world, but it's not like endless, I guess. Like you can you complete it, but yeah, but like depending on you can finish the game and start it over and do a new one, and it's going to be different because of the different choices that you make or things that you do.
Okay.
I believe is how it works out to be. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's just give me some Star Wars. I'll take any Star Wars.
Same here.
The Bad Batch is coming up. You mentioned that earlier, and it's funny because like just Star Wars fans, man. Like we didn't ask for the Bad Batch. Who wants it? Like, and it's like, I'll take it. Give it to me. I'll watch it. Like even like with Resistance. Like one of the issues with Resistance was people wanted it to be like the next level of Rebels or Clone Wars, and it's like, well, it's geared toward 8-year-olds. Like, so you need to go into it remembering and like of the mindset of an 8-year-old. And yeah, it's kind of corny, and there's not a lot of canon things happening in it. It's just a lot more fun. Well,
right.
Give me some like we talked about books earlier, give me some really deep canon things, like Bloodlines, and then give me, some fun books and like the Galaxy's Edge ones that came out. It's just it all ties in together. And, it's like, I mean, like we were talking about different TV shows, like, I like watching comedies. I also like watching dramas. I like watching cop shows. So it's like, give me a little bit of everything. And, the old cliche, just as long as it's done well, I'm going to like it. Well, yeah, that's like that with everything.
That's right. Yeah. And I don't, I say this on my show. Like, I love Star Wars, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't like. I mean, there's several novels I listen to. I'm like, well, I probably won't listen to that one again, but I'm glad I did it the first time, but it's just like, it's like everything. Like you said, I agree with what you said. I won't ask for anything, but if they're putting it out there, I'm going to consume it. I mean, there's just no doubt about it.
I've rewatched Rebels. I've rewatched Clone Wars. I did Clone Wars in chronological order.
Yep.
Where you skip around a little bit.
Yes.
I haven't rewatched Resistance. But I maybe I will someday. Maybe I won't. I don't really know. But I enjoyed it when I watched it. Just don't know if it's going to get a second viewing or
right.
Maybe if we weren't getting any more Star Wars, it probably would. With all the new Star Wars coming out, it probably won't. But it's all. But like that's like on the controversial part, like I think the best Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi.
Interesting. Okay,
but there are some things in that movie that I think it could go without, or you don't really need, or it's like maybe it was kind of a waste or whatever. But yeah, like that just goes like because I say it's the most Jedi of the Jedi movies. If you want to get into like the mystics or like the mysticism of it, and like a lot of things that happen, already happened in other movies where, Luke gives his life. Well, Obi-Wan did the same thing, and but yeah, not trying to get in a whole, I mean, not that it doesn't, I'm not trying to say it doesn't matter what your viewpoint is. But yeah, some like, and if someone doesn't like it, fine. You don't have to like it.
Yeah, totally.
Just as long as you can have a conversation about, the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not, a 10, like you said, Pulp Fiction, is one of the best movies. Well, you didn't say that, but you brought up Pulp Fiction earlier. It's one of the best movies, probably, that was ever made. There's some other movies like that, and it's like, oh yeah, like I understand what they did with the casino scene, what they were trying to show. It's like, I don't know. It was his version of the cantina scene, with all different, but people just didn't really like it because it was all flashy and trying to show the decadence instead of like being all grimy and in there for but they liked it for Solo, when Dryden Voss on his yacht, that was great and amazing. So, it's just I guess perspective and just like what you like and let me like what I like and you can like what you like and we can have a great conversation about the differences and what we like. It's just kind of that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I was getting into a Twitter conversation, which I don't do a lot of that, but I did get into a Twitter conversation with someone because someone was asking on there about, hey, I'm wondering what order I should introduce my. I think it was his girlfriend. And he's like, should I start in chronological order or start in release order? Right, that's the big question that's always out there. Should you do episode order or release order? Of course, it was mixed. I was surprised how mixed it was. A lot of people were saying do chronological or do release. And I said, and I liked actually. Have you heard about this mixed order where someone said do 1 and 2? No, I'm sorry. Do start with 4 and 5, but then go back at 5 and do 1, 2, 3, and then do 6. And I thought, wow, that's actually pretty interesting. I might actually try that one day. But I had thrown in there that I said, if you're going to start with 4, I actually said, I think you should start with Rogue One because to me, Rogue One and 4 are basically one movie. There's no gap there, and the whole point of Rogue One is to get this plans to destroy the Death Star, and then that's what happens in Episode 4, right? So I love, that's when you talk about favorite movie. Actually, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie. I think it's so phenomenal. I love the characters, even though they all perish in the end. But I just love I love the stakes that are in that movie. I think it's well shot. I don't know. I really love, and I can't believe how well it looks like, Episode 4, even though it was done close to 40 years later. So, it's interesting about thinking, so I was going back and forth with somebody like, you can't do Rogue One because there's no context really of who Vader is, or there's no context of the Death Star and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I don't know. I disagree, because I feel like that's what you're getting introduced to. You're getting introduced to this Death Star. You're getting introduced to this Vader character. In fact, to me, it feels like if you start with that, you see how badass this guy is right off the bat, because you don't ever see him really fight any besides his son, in the original trilogy. So anyway, I'm right now, Rogue One's up there on my list right now at the top.
And that's towards the bottom of my list. But as time goes on, I'm starting to like a little bit more, especially going through like the visual dictionaries over and over again, and it's kind of it's moving up there. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like whatever movie I watch last is probably my favorite, or whichever one I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here's something to add on to that mixed order. So Rogue One's fine, but I'm just talking about like the 4, 5, 6, whatever. But you do 4, you do 5 up until right before Vader tells him that he's his father. And then, so you pause it halfway through the movie, and then you go back and do 1, 2, 3. And then once 3's over, then you start it back up with 4. Or back up at 5 at that point.
I'll have to try that. Because I think that would be, I think my youngest daughter, she's into Star Wars a little bit. She's not too much into it. She loves Chewbacca though. Like if Chewbacca's on screen, she'll watch Chewbacca. But yes, yeah, that's awesome. So she, when she gets a little older, and I'll have to actually fully invest into introducing her to the movies. Yeah, I might do something. I might do an order like that. Might do the mixed order. That's pretty. That's
good. Where I started. I started off at 1, because she'd already seen 4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, 6.
And then she started to figure out who Anakin was. Because without me having, because she's already seen 4, 5, so she started to figure out the Skywalker thing, like they're calling him Skywalker, and I'm like, no, don't you remember Obi-Wan said that he was killed by Vader. And yeah, so she didn't have it too long, but that it was the whole the reason she kept watching it was because the whole Padme Anakin thing, and she thought that it was kind of weird that he's dating like his babysitter, like just a quick reference. And she was definitely shipping Padme and Obi-Wan. But I'm like, well, we're gonna have to watch Clone Wars so that you can see about Satine. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, it's only 150 cartoons. It's fine. It's only 150 episodes. She's like, yeah, that's not happening. But yeah, that was the whole thing. It was like, that's what kept her going. She's like, I need to find out what happens. And then of course it was the questions about, well, like what happened to his mom? What was this? What was that? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you. We're going to have to watch. So
yeah,
maybe someday. Maybe if I clean the house, I won't clean the house. I'll get a housekeeper to come in, a cleaning lady to come in and clean everything, and I'll come back and be like, look at what I did. Look,
yeah,
I even scrubbed.
Let's watch.
I even scrubbed I scrubbed the baseboards. Let's watch Star Wars.
So which Disney Plus shows are you looking forward to most? The new ones.
I mean, the cop out to say all of them, but I think Obi-Wan,
Yes.
because that, I mean, it's the story that we know but we don't know.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
we have a little bit, and then finding out, through other, the ancillary materials like books and things, or the comics, that you know, um, Obi-Wan was always watching over him, and he had stopped the Tusken Raiders when Luke was, whatever it was, like 8 years old or 3 years old or whatever. I don't remember the exact thing. Had to stop him from, and team up um, with Uncle Owen, and uh, you know, so it's like, what are they going to give us? And is it going to
Yeah.
be on world? Is it going to be off world? Does he have to go somewhere? And now we're finding out that there's a fight between him and Vader,
Yes.
which, like, we um, again, I think it's one of the comics. Obi-Wan didn't know that Vader was Anakin, or he didn't know he was still alive
Right.
until I think he was at a bar, and they said his name, something along those. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then he knew that it was him. Something, I'll have to go back and revisit that, but that's a
Yeah.
great thing. There's so much more Star Wars coming out. It's hard to keep everything straight, and not that it's a bad thing. Like, that's a good thing. Like, um, that's the other thing too. Before I started doing YouTube and talking with people and just bringing in so much more in the books and everything, like these competitions, I could have probably won all these competitions for the quizzes and trivia, and it's like,
Yeah.
because all I had was Star Wars movies. Like, I didn't do YouTube, I didn't do anything, so I just watched Star Wars over and over and over and over again. And then over the last 3 or 4 years, it's kind of like, oh wait, I think I kind of remember that. Well, I read a comic about
Yeah.
that, but it's kind of yeah. So it's kind of, it's good that there's so much more information and so much more stories to go. I never got into Legends. Same thing. I was never a reader. I never liked to read
Yep.
when I was a kid. So, luckily I stayed away from that. And now, the few good stories that are there, I don't have to wait through all the 140 horrible ones to get the 3 or 4 good ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so but like the Ahsoka, like, I mean, I'm excited for Ahsoka too. And then where are they going to go with that? Is it just Ahsoka doing Ahsoka things, or is that going to lead into a Thrawn show? Because right now we know
Right.
she's looking for Thrawn, and that's another issue. We don't know exactly where in the timeline this last season of The Mandalorian happens. We know the first season is 5 years after Jedi, and then this one takes, season 2 takes place a little bit after, because they have to rebuild the city. So, but was it a couple months? Is it 6 months? Is it a
Right.
year? How much time has
Yeah.
actually passed? Where does that fit in then with Rebels? We also don't have, the last episode of Rebels. That last season, we don't know exactly how far. We can kind of guess where it is in the
Yep.
timeline. So how they're going to fit everything together, because like that sort of thing. Everything now it's not like Legends before, where people get upset. But I say Legends is just fan fiction. And some people get really upset by that. But once again, like what you like. Who
Yeah.
really cares? It's just the reason that to differentiate between canon and Legends or whatever is just because you need continuity. And I always say, like, canon is history. Canon is the facts.
Yep.
And then we can sit here and talk about and interpret the facts, and why
Mm-hmm.
things happen, and the psychological impact of this or that or whatever it is. But it's still Luke is Luke and Leia are brother and sister. Darth Vader is Luke's father. I mean, Leia's too, but and then, but like, so then we can sit there and talk about what implications, what about the what ifs, and just so many things, and what would have happened, if something, if it would have been a draw on Mustafar, and Obi-Wan would have left, and Vader didn't have to be in the suit. Well, it's canon that he's in the suit. You can't take take that fact away.
Right.
But it's just like there's just so many things to just have conversations about. I don't know, like some people get upset by that, and it's just like like it's like when you're talking about who won a war. This side won the war. Okay, now we can interpret the facts. That's the fact. This side, won the war. Now we can interpret the facts of, well, what happened? How did it happen? And the good guys, they did some really unscrupulous things to win that war. And just like that, just kind of like if you like the Empire, the rebels were the bad guys. So
That's right. That's right.
It's kind of like, were the rebels terrorists? Technically, yeah, but they were overthrowing, the most disgusting, corrupt, form of government that, any has ever existed. So it's like, yeah. So just all fun things to talk about and chat about. What are you most excited for?
I think Ahsoka mainly because I think it will end up being that Rebels sequel that we were maybe going to get an animation form, but I think now that they've introduced her in live action, I think that's going to go down that road of how she's going to find where Thrawn's at. She's going to find Ezra. There's rumors that Ezra's getting casted, and there's always this rumor that Tamara Morrison is going to be Captain Rex in there, stuff like that. So I think all that's going to happen. I'm stoked about that. I think Ahsoka is going to be a crazy series. I think that's going to just itch every fanboy dream, whenever that comes out. And I think, and I'm with you. I think Obi-Wan is my next because I just Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I want to see it again. If there's any, I know a lot of people have issues with the prequels, but can't deny his Obi-Wan version. It is phenomenal, and he did such a good job with what he had. And like you said, we just don't know Obi-Wan during that time, and I can't imagine that he fights Vader. Now, I'm still wrapping my head around that because you would think that 3 and 4 that's how it was 19 years until they fought each other again. But if they fought each other sometime during, that's just mind blowing to me, man. That's mind blowing to me. So
yeah, that's the other thing. So it's canon that he says, the last time we fought, the only thing we knew about was the last time he fought, and we didn't even know when the last time they fought was.
We don't.
Then we find out the last time they fought was in episode 3, and now we're finding out. Well, maybe they fought again.
That's right.
Just, it's not rewriting canon or rewriting history. It's just giving stuff. I don't know. Like if you were to tell me a story about when you went to Disney World with your kids, and you tell me the story, and the next time we talk, you tell me. You fill in a part of that story you forgot to tell me. Well, you're not changing the story. You're just giving me more information. That's kind of the way that I look at it.
It's very good.
Things. Yeah. Even when you get the Ahsoka book has a little bit different ending than Clone Wars. With the last thing, but it's like, well, then again, you can always throw in from a certain point of view. Whose view was it? The Ahsoka book is that her memory of what happened, and then what happened in Clone Wars is what really happened.
Yep.
Then so it's I'm just getting more Star Wars, man. That's it's always good, and those little things like that. For me, it's not that big of a deal.
No.
That the helmet was buried, the helmet's put on a spike, or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I'm not bothered by that either. There's always going to be a different interpretation of something, but it's honestly it's like probably the biggest controversy is out there, right? Who shot first, Han or Greedo?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always been one person could say Han shot first. The other person can say Greedo shot first. The other person can say, you know what? They shot at the same time. And the canon part of it is they were at the Mos Eisley Cantina there. They were in this booth, and there was gunfire. Those are the facts. who shot first is really, if you want to believe that Han shot first, hey, that's okay. If I want to believe Greedo shot first, that's okay too.
Or
in the end, Greedo gets killed, and Han walks away.
Han shot Greedo. Greedo didn't even fire because Han knew Greedo was going to shoot him and kill him. So it's like, well, it was self-defense, kind of.
Kind of.
So it doesn't really matter, But then that changes when we have, the new editions come out, or this changes or that changes, and then McClunky and whatever else is going to happen, and then they throw in Solo, that Han shoots Beckett and shooting first, and just so it's all good.
All good.
It's all in fun. That's what. Hey, listen. If it wasn't for, I sometimes think, like, what if Star Wars never happened? What would the world be like? I mean, just the forget the nerds and if you watch TV, and you watch a couple different shows, especially comedies or something like that, there's always references to Star Wars or Yoda. And when I say always, I don't mean every episode, but it's like Big Bang Theory always had, had a lot of that 70s show had you get even like How I Met Your Mother, those are like main themes in them, but you just get like just shows where they just say something, they mention Star Wars or Yoda, where they're not like main themes, because I mean, one of them happened in the 70s. One of them, is just a bunch of nerds. One of whatever, but it's just just like I mean, I don't know. You're watching Law and Order, and somebody says something about Yoda, or somebody says something about Star Wars, and it's like So I mean, it's just everywhere, and besides that, now we have these huge nerd conventions and get together, and and have fun doing that. Some people actually get offended. It's like, no, dude, there's nothing wrong with a nerd. Being a nerd is, being a nerd doesn't mean you're not popular or not cool. It just means that, you're going to sit there and on a Monday night, instead of watching, well, there's no football on right now, but, instead of watching Monday Night Football, we're sitting here talking about, Star Wars for an hour.
Star Wars,
whatever, whatever it happens to be. But
I cannot imagine. I don't even know what my life would be like. Gosh,
And that's just like the nerd aspect of it that I'm talking about. Not even like the advances in technology or where would those be, because they're still happening. It happened. It happened. I gotta create my own tech lab to do stuff because we can't even do it. And then hey, we're doing everything with a green screen. And guess what? You see all the stormtroopers? None of those are real. It's all whatever. And now we have the volume. So we don't even need to do anything. It just keeps happening over and over and over again, and pushed in the envelope.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's changed the world. It truly has changed the world. I haven't said it on our show really, but I've talked to friends about it. Like, I think Disney actually got Star Wars for a bargain. $4 billion. I think it was worth way more than that. I think they got it at a bargain because it's not just a national thing; it is a global thing, and everybody has. Even if you don't like it, you've heard about it, and who Vader is, and you've seen Yoda, and you've seen what a Jedi does, and it's just, it's hit every generation. I mean, it's amazing how much it influences, like you said, all the other stuff that we get. One of my favorite filmmakers, Kevin Smith, right? I mean, he built his career on pop culture, and especially Star Wars. He'd always have a Star Wars reference in his movies. It's shaped so many people's careers and lives, and it's and myself and yours apparently too. It's like, I don't, because of Star Wars, we're doing this. It's crazy to think.
Yeah, I literally it was right before Solo came out, and I was like, I want Star Wars friends. I want Star Wars. How am I gonna? I was like, well, all right, fine. So the one day I went from just having my own personal Facebook page to I think it was January 28th or 29th. I was, just Michael Condon. And then the next day I was TooMedToo's, of course, because I got to find the biggest deep cut, oh, okay. Cause, I'm in restaurant management and I decided I was going to retire and go to nursing school. So there was that nursing aspect. It's like, okay, be one, 2-1B droid or whatever. And it's like, oh, hey, look at this guy.
Nice.
He appears in in 3 pages of a comic and 1 line of a book. All right, yeah, I'm going to be TooMedToo's. He's at the time he was the only named 2-1B droid, so it's like, okay, this is great. But it's such a deep cut that even like the biggest nerds don't even know where it comes from. But yeah, so that next day I had a YouTube channel, Twitter, Twitch. I mean, like you name it, Instagram, like everything. I just spent the entire day, getting all of them and going from there. And then, a couple weeks later, I got, a message like, hey, we're getting together. You want to come, meet us? And, yeah, like that, like I didn't know what I was getting into. Like I thought I was I was kind of scared, like not, like,
yeah.
Well, like what if it's, they call them like the old sweaties just sitting there arguing over who shot first. And
right.
Like, and I'm like, so like, I didn't really know. But I walk in there, and it's guys from the Sith List and Rogue One and Tau Swift, Star Wars Underworld. I mean, there's so many, like, it was just like, oh my God. Like I walked in there and I'm the biggest nerd out of everybody there. Like, it's not the other way around where I'm going to be like, oh God, what if I'm walking into this, cesspool of, just like who shot first? Like, that's like the worst case scenario. And it's just like, I'm the biggest nerd out of everybody here. These guys are all cool. That's like, so, I mean, it worked. It worked well for me. Like, it was kind of, it really couldn't have, like, I joke that the only way it could have been better is if, maybe George Lucas or, Dave Filoni hit me up and said, hey, you want to come hang out?
Yeah. That's great.
But, all right. Yeah, we've been going for a little bit over an hour. I don't want to.
Oh wow! Yeah,
keep you too long. I'd love to have you back sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll line it up. I want to get you, get you on one of our council sessions if you're up for it. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we basically talk. We find one, and whenever I have a guest like you on there, I want to kind of go with the topic that you have in mind. But we think about a question that's just burning in the galaxy or burning in your head, and let's debate it out. Let's talk about it, because we may not have the same views, but that's the beauty of Star Wars, right? We can talk about these things, we can offer opinions and give people different perspectives, So I'm starting right now to kind of, we've been doing obviously with just internally with the people that work on our shows, but I'm trying to reach out and get other podcasts on there. I just did one with David over at Followers of the Force. So we just put an episode out. So I'm gonna connect with some other guys and all that stuff. So I'm gonna try to get some other people on there. So yeah, so I'll hook up with you and we'll do that here soon. Get that out.
I would love that. Like that's why, like with this, it's just kind of, an open format. You never know what you're gonna get, what's gonna come up. I mean, I've had it where I had Dave and Liv from Pizza and Parsecs on, and we talked about food for 45 minutes before Star Wars even came up. But it's just like, it's just getting to know you, like getting to know each other. And, it's Star Wars, we're here because Star Wars brings us together and it's what we love. But, there's other things in life that, sometimes we're just going to talk about that or whatever's going on. Yeah. So that's just funny. And then there's times that I've had sit there and had, 2-hour debates with people or, talking about trying to figure stuff out. It's just like, that's why it's so much fun. You never know what's really going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love that. Just conversations. That's all it's about. It's all about conversation. So it's good.
Yeah. It's just, it's like two buddies meet in the bar, having a couple drinks, right, and just talking about whatever, we're here because of Star Wars, but you never know. It's going to come up at some point. You just don't know when or how or how long it's going to be or what we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I always tell the story too about meeting people that, because like you said, no matter whoever you meet, more than likely they know or they are a fan of Star Wars. It's funny because I was sitting in my office at work one day, and someone was bringing a potential client around and showing him the office, and he walks in my office to meet me, and kind of tall guy, and he's a big shot. He's either a CEO or CFO or something like that, and he sees I have this in my office at work. I have this wall, and on it I had somebody paint on there the words that really big up in the top part of the ceiling. It says "Do or do not. There is no try." Yoda's my favorite character, right? So that line is up there, and I have a couple little Star Wars things in the office. But he sees that, and he immediately comes around. This guy that everybody's kind of like afraid, to talk to because he's such a big shot client, possibly potential client of ours. He walks around my office, my desk, lifts up his pant leg, and he shows me his 3PO socks. And I'm
Nice.
like, oh my God, this guy's, and we just started talking Star Wars for like 30 minutes. I mean, there's a connection there. You never, if I didn't have that on my wall, I would have never known. He would have never known I was a Star Wars fan. You know what I mean? So it's great. It's such a great thing to have between two people, and it's something you could easily talk about because you more than likely love the same things about it. And even though you may disagree on The Last Jedi or Rebels or something like that, that's fine. But in the end, they're always something that everybody loves together. You know what I mean? So it's fun to have those conversations and meet those people for sure.
Well, it was funny. I came back from Celebration, and people that I've talked to that I've known for years, and I talk about Star Wars, I talk about my YouTube show, and I talk about podcasts and this and that. Whatever. I come back from Celebration, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were that big of a Star Wars fan." It's like you really
Yeah.
I know you're listening, but it's like, "Oh, I love Star Wars too." And then it's like, all right, now you sit here and it's just someone else to have a conversation with, and it's like, why haven't we been doing this whole time that we've been friends? And it's like everybody knows. I mean, I'm always wearing a Star Wars T-shirt, and like this is kind of I got that look from the '80s or the '90s. The T-shirt with the button-down plaid shirt or whatever. But I kind of kept that style going, but now it's just Star Wars T-shirt and instead of just a plain white T-shirt or whatever. So yeah, it's just like, how did you not know when every time you see me I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt or I have a Star Wars coat or a Star Wars hat or yeah. But
yeah.
All right, why don't you give us one last final plug before we call it quits for tonight?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. We can go to InsideTheForce.com. That's our website where, and look, I'll be the first to tell everybody we're not a news place. We don't really post news and breaking news and stuff like that. There's way more sites out there that do that way better than I could ever do. So we're just a podcast and a discussion place. We have our YouTube channel now that we're trying to build up. Over the past, ever since the pandemic really happened, we're trying to push some more shows on there. So we appreciate it if you go to youtube.com/InsideTheForce. Hit the subscribe there. You'll get all of our videos. We put out we're trying to put out about 2 shows a week. Sometimes it's 3 shows, depending if I can get a good interview done or your schedules align. But Inside the Force is our weekly show. We do that one weekly. So, but just all topics. We'll run through the news a little bit. We'll do some analyzing of what's out there, but then we usually have a unique topic that we're always talking about. Usually related to what's going on in the world in Star Wars, but yeah, really conversational, and we really appreciate you joining us. And thanks for having me on here. TooMedToo's.
All right, man. Thank you very much for coming. I had a good time. Just chatting with you and getting to know you a little bit better.
Maybe you'll listen to us again sometime. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I really need to. But instead of listening to 20 a day, maybe if I can get down to like 1 a day or maybe 5 a week.
Right.
back into the swing of things. Because a lot of it was I would listen to people for dead air time. Just because it's like, oh, there's no, so I would be listening, and then it's like you're kind of invested, but you don't really, yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna start back up my list. And you guys,
I am too. When I get back to driving, because I think we're getting everybody back to work in the office here in a couple months, so I'll be driving again. So get back to listening to my shows and my books and my podcasts and all that stuff. So yeah, this whole year has just been crazy for everybody, I'm sure, but just throws everybody's schedule's off. My schedule's off. So
yeah, I don't even know what my schedule is anymore. So
right.
But, all right, man. Thank you very much for stopping by.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All
I
right.
totally appreciate it, man. This has been fun.
All right. May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
All right, everybody. Yeah, I forgot I'm supposed to have some little spiel or whatever that I say right now. So when I turn this into a podcast someday, that will be all good. But I don't even remember what that's supposed to be anymore. But anyways, that was David from Inside the Force. Go ahead and give him a listen. I did get something that came in the mail the other day. I have no idea what it was, because if you've been paying attention, I had to get a new bank card, and everything I get from Entertainment Earth, and they had my old bank card, so I haven't gotten any new toys from them in a while. And then the other day, I switched my information back over to them, and with my new one, and then all of a sudden this showed up. So I really have no idea what it is, because I didn't go and look. So let's see what it is here. What's in the box? What's in the box? Let's find out what we got in the box. What could it be? What could it be? Hey! It might be a little bit difficult to see with the green screen, but it's Commander Green. Nice. Well, there we go. Got that bad boy. He's been on the wanted grab list for a while. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with the day. May the force be with you always.